Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to start our budget workshop in a moment. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right. The budget process starts tonight, and we're going to go right to Mr. Robinson. Oh, excuse me, you're right. Dr. Britton, it's all yours, yes. I'll come on right up there.
Bring Stephanie with me. She knows where everything is.
Absolutely.
So, do you want, Nick, do you still have the slide from last night? No, okay, it's all right. I was thinking we could work from that. Otherwise, we could, just kind of go through the object codes.
Okay.
Stephanie, why don't you help me?
We're gonna be starting our book on page 11.
All right, if we could turn to page 11. And why don't we work through the salaries line item which is reflecting the 3.25% increase. That's again, we could, if you can find the slides, we'll put them up here. If not, these are all of our certified salaries, non-certified salaries, coaching, extracurricular, temporary salaries. Again, these reflect the reduction of one teaching position, one paraprofessional position, our BCBA position, some of our stipends, and extracurricular reductions. But otherwise, they do also reflect the general wage and step increase in the contracts across all of our bargaining units. And that's the 3.25% increase. Pause there. And do you want to just do it this way? Go section by section through?
I think that'll be good.
Mhm.
Okay, and then we'll roll into questions as they come up.
Okay.
Great.
Any questions about the positions we're asking for then?
Anybody? No.
All right, so the next section then is this is the big one. This was I explained last night, the 19.7% increase.
Sorry. I realized that I had a question mark there
Sure.
on the tutor salaries. Am I reading what the 5,000 and saying a 400% increase?
So typically, our tutors were covered in the past under open choice when we had an exuberant amount of students and we had enough funding. But because our funding has been reduced and because of the number of students we have, I get nervous that we aren't going to have enough money to pay for it. So I kind of shifted it back into our budget. So that covers, like you'll see in the past, it was 0 because we were able
Right.
to absorb it with open choice.
Oh,
But not knowing where we're going to be at next year because we're under this year, I was nervous. I mean, and it's not a lot of money, but I was nervous keeping it in open choice if we didn't have the money to pay for it.
yeah, I just didn't, so that makes it the history of it being, like you said, 0,
Yeah.
and then it was the 5, but if, because Charles mentioned the 11 positions that we want, 11 slots for open choice that we want, so then that could bring that back.
Correct, right. So if we end up getting the full 59 at the $10,000
We'd
a
like
piece,
to.
then I would shift that into open choice.
Okay.
But I have to think of where we're at now, which is potentially only having 48 and being at $8,000 a student. So I have to, again, it's 18 months when we did this in advance, so it's hard.
Okay,
But yes, that would shift into open choice if we got the students we needed at the $10,000.
Yeah, they have it up there.
Oh, perfect. So Nick, what? I'll keep forwarding slides. I'll let you know when to stop. We're at the salaries. Keep going, keep going. Keep going, keep going. Salary, yep, right there. That's the one we're working through now.
And that's why it looks like 400% just because you're going from 1
Right.
to 5.
right.
Okay, Nick, why don't you shift the benefits now? It gets back.
Should be fine.
Yep. So again, I just want to point out in this section, this 13% increase reflects the not the real number, right? We had to build this before we had the actual, this is when, you know, originally we started with an 8% placeholder. We heard the shocking 26 number at, you know, and sent our broker back to rebid it and explore the state partnership plan and twist the arm of Anthem to say that we simply cannot afford a 26% increase. At that time, I asked Stephanie to adjust it to 13%. Subsequently, we found out that it was 19.7. That's the final number that came in. So the actual is 15% in this line item, but it's showing 13. Now this, as a reminder, the budget that you have in front of you, because of this and the settlement of the paraprofessional contract and the transportation contract, is in a deficit position. We're already $146,000 underwater. Now, I believe, and Stephanie and I talked about this today, you know, we're comfortable not asking you to add money back, right? And we didn't go back to the board and ask them to amend their budget upwards. We're confident that we can right the ship with that, and you know, we're going to have to look under every cushion and potentially, you know, make cuts elsewhere. But the real number here should be that 15.68. But that's why you're seeing in your budget book the 13.07 there, which is cost because we built the budget before we had the actual number. I hope I'm being clear.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And again, these are, you know,
It's based off of who is in the plan right now. We don't know if we're gonna lose people. We don't know if we're gonna hire new people. We don't know what plan they're gonna take. That's based off of the census we had in December.
we asked all of our people, we sent out a survey and say, hey, during the open enrollment period, are you going to join? Are you going to leave? You know, are you going to change? And did you have children? And do you need a family plan now? As I mentioned last night, a lot of our young teachers are having babies, which is great, but that means for our purposes that sometimes they're going from a 2-person plan with their spouse. Now they're going to need a family plan to take care of their children too. So some of these numbers reflect census changes, but the large part of it is that large increase that we're going to have to absorb.
And typically over the summer, we lose at least 10 people between paras and certified, so there's no way of telling.
Any questions on benefits?
Just Monica, what's the typical cost difference between a family plan and an individual? Because I know we talked, once they have kids, it changes the nature of that. Is it significantly more? Is it?
So
in line?
currently, a single plan is around $12,000, a family plan is around $24,000, and a family plan is around $46,000.
Okay. Big number.
So with the increase, I think I calculated we were up in the 50s for family, high 20s for the 2-person, and single went to like 16 or 17.
Okay.
That's the total. Then you had to do the cost share, obviously.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, and the total amount varies by bargaining unit in terms of what the negotiated cost shares are. So it's different. But you know, a family plan is going to be almost $50,000 next year, which is
Crazy.
criminal.
What are some of the cost shares, do you know?
They range from anywhere from 14% to 22%, depending on the bargaining unit.
Thank you.
All right, Nick, why don't you jump to, what are we at here?
Purchase services.
Purchase services? Okay, and here again, the jump here, 17% jump, as I explained last night, a lot of this is the investment we're trying to make in the house right here. Right, we'll see it right next to the police station. Beautiful property. Our hope is that by paying for renting the house, essentially paying for a lease on the house, and we're still developing the lease, and we have to go through zoning. And then thank Bob, and we've done a lot of work. We've looked at the house, and we're getting it set up to make for a beautiful transition program. Once we stand that program up, we stand to benefit for two ways. One, it becomes attractive to other towns in our efforts to recruit people, and we would be charging a tuition for that. You know, if even one tuition student would easily cover the cost of the rent, two or three, you know, would start to develop a revenue stream. But additionally, by moving our transition program out of where it is now, which is currently at the high school, it opens that space up. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow afternoon at 2:00, I'm meeting with an attorney to talk about developing a lease to rent that space to educational outfit called Saybrook Reading. So the $50,000 investment here, which looks large, looks like a 17% increase, I believe is going to pay for itself and then some, possibly and significantly some, as we start to open revenue streams from tuition students and leasing space at the high school. But even more importantly, creating an amazing opportunity for the transition program right here on Main Street. Otherwise, that's the big jump, is the lease there. But you also see some adjustment reflecting minimum wage increases and some of our other inflation driven.
Well, to the point of AOS, so AOS, we just went into agreement with this year. It's our IT service. We used to employ somebody. So currently in this budget this year, there's a salary piece. So for next year's budget, a piece of that also is shifting. It's a net zero because it's going from salaries to here, but that's also a piece of the purchase services is the 51,000,
administration.
right? Whatever the cost is for that. So that's why it looks like it's $140,000. So knowing that there is a net zero going from salaries to there for the outsourcing of the IT services, because it was more beneficial for us to source out that than hire an employee internally.
And more important, logistically, that's our network administrator service. Whereas we're hiring someone, we get 8 hours of network administration a day. By outsourcing it, we get 24/7, 365 network monitoring. So there's both a cost benefit to it, but the quality of oversight of our networks in case of malware, spyware, vicious attacks that might happen round the clock, our systems are monitored all the time.
Charles, is there an idea of what the renovations would cost if you do lease that building on Main Street?
So the family has been very good, generous. We've had lots of great conversations. They are doing the work on the house to get it ready for us. And then would just be passing along those costs to us through the rent. They're not asking us to pay anything to update the space in it. They've been great, by the way, but I'm really excited to partner with them.
If that comes to fruition and students from out of town go there, or the program with the Saybrook Reading goes in, where does that money go to? What account?
Interestingly enough, we've been talking to Tom about that. You're going to hear more about it because we do need some town meetings and things to discuss it. So more to come. The tuition would go to us, would go to us. I'll let you tackle it. Some showed up as revenue on the
Yeah, so the Seabrook Reading, that 50,000 is actually in our property rental this year. So he's got it in his, we have the revenue expected in ours. So that's already shown up in the budget in our property rental. The other program, when, if it was becomes tuition revenue, we'll probably go into a special revenue fund associated with that project. The expenditures related to that would go in there. It would be like an offset to the expenditure. It would be a revenue source in, and then it would offset the expenditure of the rent, and then the related expenditures to run the program. It's a direct relationship to the program. So when it's that they're renting the building on their own, and then so that program would work that way. When it's a school getting rented, the revenue comes to the town. Thanks.
And I did just see the promotional materials for it today. Sarah did a great job, and she's very confident that there are going to be some school districts that are going to be very interested in this.
So question, how long is the lease that you're looking to sign on that building for Main Street?
Year by year. I think
It's gonna be year by year,
Yeah.
and is that our option to stay at that point, or? I guess what I'm getting at, you stand a program up and we start having people that have signed up to it, et cetera. If all of a sudden the individual decided not to lease it, what position would that put us in if we had a functioning program? and we've now committed the space to another entity in the school, what's our risks there?
Um, I know it's a year by year lease. So you're saying that if at the end of a year, our program's doing great, but the owners decide to sell it or tell us.
It's happened.
I think that's a risk we would take. And if that happened, we would be looking for other rentals.
You'd have to look for another rental, because that's was just thinking, we may have a functioning program. And the space would have been leased out to something that, to another entity at this point.
That's a risk. I think that we have to recognize that could happen. I hope not. I haven't in my initial conversations with the landlord, I haven't gotten any indication that they would be inclined to do that. As a matter of fact, I think they're very excited to partner with us, and more to come on that. I think it fits in with some bigger vision they have for their entire property over there. So hopefully this is the start of a great relationship and a long-term sustained program that meets their purposes.
No, it sounds like a great idea. I think
Yeah.
these are the types of things we need to do to be generating some revenue and to be knocking down some other costs. It's, I think it's a smart idea. I was just curious about that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure something will be written in the contract, you have to give us XYZ number of days if
Exactly.
you wanna
Yeah.
sell it to us or move on or, something like that. But we have
Something
to
that
draft
gives us
it.
enough time to react,
Mhm.
where we're gonna have, yeah. Right, thank you.
That's a good point. That's good. And we're working on the lease now, so nope. Yeah. Any other questions on purchase services?
Yeah, just, Dr. Britton, in the book, I think that I read this, if you could just confirm for me the bump up in professional development, does that have to do with that, accreditation?
Is that where you put the NIASC?
No, that's just the Chuck's professional development.
Yeah,
for the
so-
Teachers.
Part of the bump there that we need is, we're undergoing a big change in our literacy programming. The state has thought a lot, we are thinking a lot differently now about the way that kids learn to read, and we've invested heavily in a new K-3 reading program. We're also looking at making a big change to our math curriculum, particularly for grades 5 through 8. So our director of teaching and learning, I know he is very interested that as soon as we buy a new curriculum, which we're looking at 3 and kind of test driving them now, the teachers are gonna need a certain amount of support and training in how to actualize that new curriculum. So I think that 10,000 reflects what Mr. Hershon is thinking about in terms of the level of support once we get to a point where we're deciding on a new math curriculum. That's
When you say 10,000, you talk about
The increase.
over last year.
correct.
Yeah.
And it's also some administrative professional development, because every year when the schools have to cut their budgets, they always go straight to their PD, and it's very important for the administrators to get just as much professional development as the teachers. So I believe that they also did leave in some of the funding for the principals as well.
Oh, should we jump ahead?
Let's go.
Okay, Nick, can you bring us to repairs and maintenance, and Mr. Shea is here, to answer any questions about that as well. But again, you do see here a decrease, unfortunately, Bob is in the unenviable position of being one of those things that we can't say we have to do it because they're IEP-based services, or we have to pay it because it's insurance related. He's one of the only areas where, there's no laws saying that we can't cut him. And I know he will tell you, if he wants to come up here, ask him, he could probably use 3 times more than this amount. But, again, our hope is that we're in a very different place next year if we do our work, and impress upon the community, the need to renovate to our schools. We will be once again just kind of holding things together as we do plan for some significant infrastructure work that we must do soon here in Portland. Mr. Shea, do you want to comment on that at all? Just about the kind of borrowed time we're on? I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. It's gonna be.
Bob, do you want to just come up here,
Yes, sir.
speak to the microphone?
Hi. So about 100,000 stuff cut overall. Really difficult year for me coming up. There's, above and beyond what we need to do with our entire district, which we hope we move forward with that, which will be very helpful. We still have that whole year to get through, where I might be able to, recoup some savings, as we start to make those improvements. But it's going to be a difficult year at these numbers. We talked about this quite over great lengths, and like you said, as well as other departments have those areas where, you find that line item is the only place you can cut versus other ones that you need to fund based on law, statute. It's going to be difficult. We're making some projections for the end of the year that might not, as of today, they're not there. We're hoping that we can have savings across the district that will allow me to do some end of the year purchases that will help me through next year. But I will say, probably since I've started in this position, I think this is going to be our most difficult year at those numbers. I mean, we took $100,000 of a cut out of my line item that I thought that I had already cut, that we really made some heavy cuts to get to that number, and we took another 100 away. So that's, it's important for you to know that. We'll do our best. We do every day. We were in much better shape last year, although I was concerned, but we're doing okay. Even with this crazy winter that we had and a lot of things breaking because of it. But yeah, it's important for you to know that, we're running a fine line in the maintenance category. If you go, I just, go back years and see what we're funding and maybe see what we've done to try to reduce those numbers, but I'm still considerably lower than what was previously budgeted for those line items. But we're doing our best. I'm working hard to keep that and make it happen where we are. Just trying to keep the schools open and everybody safe. So
Fair to say, we'll really be banking on renovations and otherwise.
yeah, it's going to be hard. The whole year will be hard, but even after that, it's going to be hard to even sit and talk about where we go from there. So that's the biggest part. And then next year, I'll be relying on a lot of help to try to get things done. We're moving in the right direction. We've made a lot of repairs over the past 4 years that we've really moved for secondary school, and that's the other thing you have to understand. But really through this whole process, I've been focusing on making sure that we're spending our tax money on the buildings that we know that are going to be there. We've had many discussions and you don't know where you're going. So you want to focus on making sure that you're making improvements on stuff that's going to stay. And we know the secondary school is there for quite a while. So I've kind of been focusing on those repairs. And with that said, the other schools are kind of weaning back. And some of those things are really coming to the front of the line. And I'm hoping that we can get the boilers for one. Who knew that our boilers were going to fail in the middle before we can make a change if that's the case. And, that's a $325,000 expense that we didn't expect. So schools are big and they have an awful lot of expenses to run them. They hold a lot of people, like I said in our last meeting, many more than your home does, and you make improvements in your house that may manage 4 to 5 people, and these manage hundreds of people a day. So things break a lot faster. So.
Any questions? Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
So again, you see in repairs and maintenance, that was the initial flat funding and then a reduction, and that's.
I should have just made, I don't know why I did
I-
it. A couple $100 less, that's my fault.
Yeah.
I should have just made the same.
So should we move to transportation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so again, here you see a slight reduction in point.
Next slide.
Oh, yeah, where?
There you go.
Yeah. So here in these other services, this is where we put a lot of different things. Our transportation, our insurance, and then of course our tuitions for outplacements. You do see a reduction here, which is a kind of a reflection of some projections we're making. It does also reflect our new transportation contract. Some of the offsetting savings there have been, we've done a really good job with these 3 minivans. A lot of credit to Sarah and Olivia, and we have some great drivers now who are helping keep some costs down, whereas if we were paying Ambassador or M&J or other limousine or student transportation services, it would be more. We've made some nice headway there. But overall, these also reflect some of our special education outplacement expenses. And again, I just want to remind you, last night, one of the anticipated revenues here is that excess cost reimbursement, we put at 72%. Now, I'm a little stressed, although I have anxiety, because as a reminder that 2 years ago when we were in that, at one point it was $1 million deficit position, and I was really in a bad state of mind. But we whittled that down to, remember, at the end of the year, we ended up at about a $300,000 deficit. And thank you for the supplemental and bailing us out on that. But what had caused that was the state promising us 72% at that time. Stephanie even had been conservative. I think what did you put, 66?
68.
68, and they came in
59.
at 59 that year. And I have some choice words for that day. When they sent us that email and said, "Oh, we don't have enough money and we're cutting you." So we did put it back. Last year we got a good chunk. And this year they did a good job, because they heard me and every board of education and every superintendent scream about it, and our legislators did respond. And again, this year we're hearing that Hartford has heard, don't cut that excess cost. Those are placeholders we put in our budget that we anticipate. But again, it's a little bit of a gamble here. But if it comes in below that 72% number, the ether will be filled with some choice words from Charles's office. But let's hope that doesn't happen.
You can only go off of what you know. Last year they gave a supplement. It was only, I think, 69 last year, but they gave a supplemental because so many people complained, and somehow they came up with some money to get us up to the 72, and we're getting the 72 this year. Now, as of December, I know everybody had us to do their second filing March 1st. So that's when they go back in and look at the pot of money and see what the changes that the school districts make, whether they increase or decrease. So hopefully there's not too much of a change between December and March. And then they usually catch you up at the end, because you have to submit again in June 30. And then they catch that in the following year if you either owe back money or you get more money. And that comes in your ECS grant. But we've actually gotten additional funds in the past because it was in our favor that our expenses ended up being more than the first reporting. So, I mean, it's last year and this year, so we hope that it's going to be the same, next year.
Yeah, and for anybody hearing this, or if you're thinking like, I really don't know exactly what you guys are talking about, and that's fair. It's incredibly complicated, right? The work that Stephanie does is difficult, because we're building budgets hoping that the state comes through with funding that they're promising us, but they don't always fund it at that amount, because they're considering the pool all districts in the state. And if all the districts in the state ask for what they anticipate or less, we're going to get what we want. But if everybody in the state clamors for more, then they reduce everybody. And that is a really difficult way to run a budget. And that's that was a function. You probably saw that in the letters that the Board of Ed wrote. And every legislative breakfast and lobbying group I've been to, we've said, if you tell us it's going to be there, we're building budgets anticipating and expecting it to be there. You can't cut us in March. Like, you cannot send us that email in March, when, especially in March, I don't have any year left to do anything, right? It's a kick in the gut. But they were better this year, and they were better last year, and we're hoping that the message was received, and they are now going to be better going forward.
Let's hope.
Let's hope.
Like I said, it was March.
Yeah,
March now.
it was-
I don't know.
That's right. But, all things considered, that is down slightly, but roughly the same. But I've been talking a little too much. Happy to answer any questions about special education outplacement costs, tuition costs, or legal services, property. I mean, that's not here, property insurance or transportation.
What was the final number for the bus contract?
Yeah, I don't have them right in front of me. They were pretty close, a little lower than what we shared with you. We went back and we were able to spread that increase out over the 5 years of the contract. I will have that. We'd hoped to have it done by the end of February. It took a little bit longer. It's done now. I'm gonna have that contract in front of the board, I think at the next meeting.
Well, I'm just wondering, because with the deficit on one of the slides last night, it said that the bus contract is like 16.4 higher. So this should just have 16.4 added to it, this number?
No, that's in here, right?
So,
Actually, no, you're right.
No, it's not. This is the old number, so this
You're
is
right.
not.
It would
included.
have the 16.4 added. You're correct. Thank you. Yeah, it needs 16,400 more here.
Yep.
Same as good catch. Thank you, Bobby. You're exactly right. But we'll do our best. We will find other places to. But, because again, that's a contractual number. I don't have flexibility with that. I'll probably cut it from Bob.
My only other question, what is included in the travel line?
So this is where,
That's the mileage
yeah,
reimbursement.
people that travel between the schools, our IT technicians, our teachers that go between schools.
Because we have 5 schools and we have to pay them to go back and forth.
Yeah.
Because it's in their contract. And then also too, if they go on professional developments, we also reimburse for mileage as well. So, and we're after COVID, there's kind of was a halt with people doing PD. And there's a lot of virtual ones too, but we're trying to get teachers and everybody to go more to the PDs. And so that's a little bit of mileage for them
It
too.
seemed almost double.
Yes.
A majority of it is our student services shared people, our OT, PT, the ELL teacher, and the paraprofessionals that go from the bridge program that's at Gildersleeve and Brownstone. Every day they put in for their mileage. I see their mileage forms that come in bi-weekly. It's small amounts each time, but it adds up. And that's why I keep telling Sarah we have to increase it because, they're entitled to it. It's in their contract and a lot of them don't take advantage of it. So it could be a lot higher in all honesty. But there's, certain ones and they're supposed to get it. So and they put in for it.
Yeah, and I think it's the IRS sets that rate. It went up too.
Yeah, and that
What
went
was
up
like
too.
62 cents a mile or something now.
It's, no, I think it's
It went
71. It goes up every year.
Mhm.
But it's really, it's dry. Once we can have less schools, that's less driving, in all honesty.
Also for me, there must be an explanation that you're gonna tell me all of a sudden this tuition to magnet schools is 65. But it was like $1,500.
Yep, so there's one student who is out. It's not really an outplacement. They go to a magnet school. And so if we had, just like when Hartford kids come to us, we bill Hartford for any special ed services. So we have certain students who are special ed that go to Crux school. So then they in turn bill us for the same services. So that's to cover the expenses for that.
Yeah, well, I'm willing to bet that that's probably a paraprofessional in speech and language, but I'm just guessing that number seems about what a district would charge for a para and speech and language services, but not knowing the student, that's a guess.
Continue on.
All right, Nick, can we go to books and supplies? Yeah, again, very kind of a situation that Bob's in. This is the one area where we do have some discretion over, right? And as I explained, initially we went to flat funding and then I asked everybody to cut, and this is one of the only places that we have to cut. These are the general supplies, Post-it notes, those kinds of things. But it does also.
Did I know we were gonna go to war and gas was gonna be almost $4 a gallon?
No.
Not in November.
Yeah, I know,
So,
right? We were doing
I
great
was
on gas.
hopeful.
Yeah, it was also a very cold winter, by the way. So, there's some also assumptions built in here, but would I like to add money to that based on what we're seeing now at the pump? And maybe this winter was just kind of an anomaly in being as cold as it was. Hopefully next year we'll get back to a little closer to normal, and certainly hopefully we won't be dropping bombs on Tehran anymore, and that'll all work out. But these reflect what we were thinking about the state of the world 3 months ago.
So I think probably we might have a concern on those lines, not only the town.
Whole
as well,
world,
and
yeah.
Tom could speak to that, right? Because anything that went into these budgets about gas or any of that was before February, whatever.
Before last week,
Right.
right? Yeah. Horrifying. Sorry.
So those, I think, would be an issue.
Unless this gets over quick, please God. Okay.
The resources media line, that's another one where there's 100%, but there's a blank number. What's going on there?
I just don't think that's like, you know, like the DVDs, the schools don't use that stuff anymore. It's all online materials.
So that there's just
Just out.
no money associated there at all then.
It was $80.
Went from 80 to.
I don't even know if we spent it, to be honest. There was probably one school that put it in their budget for something they wanted. I'd have to go back and look and see if we actually
That
spent it.
much missing, I thought maybe it was an error.
Go.
I think next, yeah.
All right, buildings and equipment. Again, you see, an increase here, and this is just as a reminder. Last year, I was very happy. Oh, you got-
Let's go to the next-
Next
Next slide, Nick.
Next slide, yeah.
There it is. Thank you.
So you do see an increase here, and again, just as a reminder, what we did last year, which I think was very smart, in years past, we've kind of gone down we've explored lots of different options for Chromebooks, right? We did leases one year, we used certainly COVID relief funding years, we had grants certain years, but what that created is sort of how to describe a Frankenstein's monster of different Chromebook models, all under different types of warranties, right? Last year, what we did for the first time is we put in our budget the number that we need to purchase all of our fifth graders and all of our ninth graders a Chromebook, right? So all of our current fifth and ninth graders have a new Chromebook that they are now going to bring with them into sixth and 10th grade year, and then into their 7th and 11th grade year, and then into ninth or 8th and 12th grade year. Then we'll collect those ones back and send them down to Gildersleeve, right? But then this year we are going to again purchase our fifth and our ninth graders a new Chromebook that's under warranty for 4 years. So, fortunately our incoming fifth grade class is a little smaller. I think there's only 79 or 80 kids in that class. So this number's a little lower, but we, just count the number of kids that we anticipate we're going to need. And that's where you see the Chromebook.
But now we've run into the pickle with not having any.
Well, let's not confuse anybody with, we're running into issues with Chromebooks because of supply chain and chips that are difficult, and it might be hard to get them Chromebooks. There's an issue with Chromebook being able to buy them. So we're going to work hard and hopefully we can get to the front of the line, but more to come on that.
The Chromebook. They're under what?
73014.
One for the hardware.
Yep.
Okay.
Are there similar excess issues with the software as well as the chips and the hardware?
Okay, should we go to dues and fees then?
Let's do it.
All right, so dues and fees, this increase, is this the NIASC?
That one, yeah.
Remember, yeah. So this one here is as a reminder, our high school is going through its decennial once every 10 years, accreditation visit with the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. I can't wait for this group to come. We're going to impress them. Boy, Kate Lawson and her team up there have been working very hard. We are perfectly aligned to those standards. I think we're really going to impress them. But of course, in the year that they come, our dues are doubled because you get a double whack on your dues.
It's 6,000 a year. Just to put into perspective, we pay 6,000 a year every year
Yeah.
for that.
And then
So
it's
it
double.
goes to 12.
It goes
for
to
this year.
12, and then we have to we have to cover that cost. I will say though, I don't complain about that. I really believe the accreditation process is amazing. It really generates some reflection. I hope the police department's having the same experience. It does really get you to consider best practices. It's worth it to be accredited by them, and we have to have it because having that seal on our students' transcripts is what makes those transcripts worth the paper they're written on when college admissions office consider our students. Without that accreditation, our kids would have a really hard time marketing themselves to colleges and universities.
No questions.
That all of them? I can read that.
Good.
That's it.
Good.
No problem.
All right. Last chance. Any questions? Bobby? Billy? Anybody? Good. All right, good. Thank you very much. So I see Tom is not here now, so while he is, what's that? He went to the boy. All right, so, Sarah, do you wanna?
Here he comes.
No.
Oh.
Perfect timing, Tom.
Right, good evening. We're starting on page 19 of the booklet.
Right, we're on.
So page 19 is the Board of Selectmen budget. There's a 2.27% increase here. Small amount for board clerk, small amount for program services for the recordings of the meetings throughout the town. Page 21.
Of everybody, so how are we going to, so Charter Revision Commission has nothing, but we've talked about how we're doing a charter review, so
Right.
how we,
I think we'll need to discuss that. The last charter revision, I think we need to look at what was spent on there. We have talked about doing that and included them. And so I think we need to add that to our discussion for next week, how much that's going to be, what the cost is. And I think we
okay, I
may,
just want to point out
no,
that
that absolutely,
we have nothing in there.
absolutely. I agree with you as well. Nice job.
Page 21. This first selectman budget. First selectman budget has the first selectman and the administrative assistant. Has various programs and conference, CCM, the cost, Middlesex Chamber of Commerce, program services for various program type activities that the first selectman's office runs. And this budget has a 4.88% increase this year. Page 23 is the Ethics Commission. Ethics Commission has more or less just pay for a PO box. They have some miscellaneous supplies. They also have a board clerk when needed. So there's a zero change to that budget. Page 25 is the probate court. This is a amount that we get, town of Marlboro assigned, provides us what we need to budget here based on the letter that we received from them. There's a 1.1%, 1.11% increase here. Page 27 is elections. In the elections, we have one state election with a 14-day early voting period, 2 party primaries with a 7-day election early voting period, and then 1 budget referendum expectation. The budget, majority of the things here is for supplies and or voting machines, and then the people cost to run that department.
Good question.
Sure.
What exactly, it may be is voter canvassing? What is that? What does that mean? Because I just saw that
Yeah, go
You have to go up, yep, you have to go up there so people at home can listen. Thank you.
Every year we get a list from the state. They require us as a state mandate that we have to canvass once a year. We have programs like ERIC, which used to be 6 states that apply to this. This is people that have moved out of town who have not voted in 4 years. you canvass to make sure that they're still living here. And there's, the in-town moves. Sometimes we don't pick up in-town moves. We use a program called Roast, and that is associated with the NCOA. And that gives us our list of people to canvass. But it is a state requirement that we do this, okay? It's not that we pick this.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no,
I just
so-
want you to, you know,
so I
realize.
guess my question is, so that it hasn't been done in this budget year then, because 100%.
We're working on it now.
Okay.
It has to be done anywhere from January until, it used to be May, now it's
Oh,
April.
that's great. Thank you.
Okay, so it's done every year around this time.
Thank you. And I have one other question on this page. The voting machine maintenance, like it has this increase, but aren't our voting machines new?
You want me to answer? You can answer.
So the voting machines, they are new, but they require service agreements. So there's a service agreements that the state has put in place, and those are the fees that the department's
So
estimated
they're
are.
just higher than what we used to pay, even though they're new machines.
Yeah, yeah, that's a, yeah, more
More.
of them too. Yeah, more.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Like a great deal.
Page 29, so finance department. It's made up of the finance director, three other full-time employees, and then a part-time benefits administrator. We have our software system, our ADP payroll, our ADP system for payroll. The increase, one of the increases here is for rental uses of buildings. So what the rental use of buildings is for, it's more or less the use of schools, that it's the overtime for the use of schools by people that are not the Board of Ed and not Parks and Rec affiliated. So those people get charged for the overtime, and then that goes into property rental. So the custodial's overtime gets charged to this budget, and then we bring the revenue in property rental. But that's what that is. That's why that's increasing. It seems like after COVID, you know, and as well as, you know, continual increases of contracts, the amount of that we're, you know, being, you know, the custodians are making now is higher. I think there's also more rental use, and then, you know, the revenues we're bringing in are the Board of Ed's doing a job of bringing those revenues back for us. So wanted to try to capture some of that, increasing that number a little bit here. And then we have the audits or bank fees and various processing components that we need for doing our reporting, the various 1095 reportings and other reportings here.
I have a, sorry.
Keep going.
I have a, I know, this is my, Tom, what is like miscellaneous?
Miscellaneous it accounts for various things that come up that might need to acquire with many times during the year. We buy technology through that. We there's furniture issues, evictions go through that. Any, you know, if there's a special consultant that might be needed for financial purposes, we might go through there. So it's you know, it's an allotment. Yeah, it's an allotment that we use where it's more or less, we'll try to accomplish what's needed, and then we get it accomplished. If there's nothing's needed, then we don't spend. Okay. Page 31 is the collector of revenue. Collector of revenue, this is just the actual collector herself, and the other clerk that's in the office, that's split between water and sewer. So that's the collector. And then the service contract is QDS. We have their supply service as well as their online customer, and then also the DMV we have to pay a fee to. And then it's conference and meetings and dues, training. And then that could be for both parties, because the assistant is trying to become more certified, which is excellent, you know, for the town if that becomes an item. Page 33 is the assessor's budget. Assessor's budget is made up of the assessor and the administrative assistant. The service contracts is the main component of this budget, other than the actual personal costs. They have Tyler, the system that we have, the QDS is part of this, Q Public. There's another company called NADAs we have to pay as well. And then the training, this is also training for the assessor, his assistant, as well as all of the Board of Assessment Appeals. 35, the Board of Assessment Appeals, it has an increase. This could be a reval year. So it's going to show a slight increase there because it's a reval year.
So their stipends increase because it's a reval year?
Yeah, when it's a reval year, they
Okay.
get a little bit, it's like a little bit more, but yeah.
Oh, stipends like per meeting, not,
They get a stipend. They get a stipend amount. There's three of them, I think. And then, on non-reval years, it's an amount, and on
And it's
reval years,
different.
yeah, it's like a small amount, more $100 maybe or something. Page 37, this is a challenging one. I think Mike was trying to be, trying to keep the budget as close as possible, but this is a tough one here. Legal fees, they continue to rise. Hopefully, many of the contracts will hopefully be, for labor will be done this year, so that hopefully will keep it. But pension costs, if when and if they are needed, the pension attorneys are very expensive. Any employment law attorney is very expensive because there's a very shortage of them, and it's a very specialized group. We have the General Town Council, it's Martha Kleina, or Harris Beach Martha, I shall say. And they also are planning and development matters attorney. So that's 0% funding. 39 is the town clerk. It has the payroll of the town clerk and the assistant town clerk. That line item does have an adjustment in there as noted. And then the service contracts, it's what we usually pay for our ordinance system, Muni code. The index and recording, we will be having a new system soon called IQS. The implementation of that was for the functionality compliance of the actual software. It's more in line, appears more municipalities have been using that here recently in Connecticut. So that change is going to be going on. Mike will be leading that, and indexing obviously has that has the recording components of the IQS contract, as well as supplies, binders, and any other items that Mike and his team may utilize within the vault.
so that bump up is really because this is new. A new software system?
Yeah, I mean, it's a
for
new,
that
correct.
indexing and,
Yep. Yeah, that's why it was bumped, and then that is going to be implemented in the springish. And then, then we'll convert over to that system. If all the world was equal and there was no change, which there needed to be a change, that software, the incumbent would have gone up as well. It was just
Yeah.
we had a good contract for a longer period of time and it expired, and then that's
so new
it was-
means more.
Tom, is the dog licensing software in that software package, or is that okay?
Michael says yes. I'll defer to Michael on this. All right. Page 41 is our central service line item. This is where we do, mostly it's my office will help administer this, and it's kind of, we buy things centrally for the town. Service contracts, it has some of the things for Foley and all the various testing for the drug and alcohol testings, its requirement. One of the major components there is also the rental of the copier fleet on the town side. I think that may be needing to be updated, so there's a possibility of, I think, if I did a slight increase, Foley fees have been increased slightly just due to requirements changes as well. Slight increase there. Postage, although, we try not to do postage as much, but we have to do a lot of mailings for various tax bills, as well as our checks and things of that nature. And every year postage does continue to creep to it continues to rise actually quite a bit. So we're trying to put an increase here because of the need. And there's no other changes to that budget. Page 43 is the technology budget. The payroll is the actual director and the assistant. Part-time payroll is for our we have a part-time clerk that helps with IT situations, helps us run all the gov deals where we sell all the assets in the town and generate significant revenue that goes into the capital fund. And helps with special needs with the Police Accountability Act and various things of that nature, as well as there is some funds for students that work on the town program. The overtime is there for needs of overtime. The main item here increase was in the licensing fee. We did have one of our longtime vendors had left the market for our service, and then we went through the bid process, still working through that, but we are kind of aware of where the fees are going, and there's a expected $12,000 will be on an increase overall, so it's a total of a $24,000 fee for our computer management software, remote monitoring, and security. That's an annual fee that we have in there as well. But then this that also has in our Microsoft licenses the land use GIS web hosted, land use Laserfiche electronic records, the online permitting systems, public Wi-Fi, the Adobe Acrobat Pros, some backup software for the UDEs, police UDEs, constant contact, outreach, email servicing, licensing, server operations, system licenses, web hosting, web security, Zoom. It's just the list goes on and on. It's just as well as the board had said, and on our side, it's a similar way. Many things are becoming subscription based. It's just you have to, and then a lot of the services, if we have a program where we're running new programs and whatnot, we have to have the subscription, and then as well as we have to have the cyber security for our remote managed detection and of that. Similar, that's why we increased the computer network as the hourly per rate. We usually did an 8-hour per week. We lowered that slightly because the actual hours went up. We're trying to mitigate the difference with still getting enough support that we need here in this department. So those are the reasons why that department has gone up. It's more or less the $12,000 swing up in remote monitoring and detection, and then the change in the computer network. There'll be upcoming change expected in vendors. Page 45 is the fire department. We have a volunteer fire department here in the town. The regular payroll there, that's a 10% allocation of an administrative assistant. That also is the 90% is the police department. The part-time payroll has in it the fire chief, the deputy chief, the assistant, and then the EMS coordinators. And then also, this is where the stipends are paid for for the firemen, the $2,000 stipend for the members there. And then I think this year there was a potential there was an ask for the fire department for the lieutenants. I think was to get 9 of the lieutenants to be paid $500, and 3 of the captains to be paid $1,000 stipend. And that's those guys. I guess those guys are all people that are considered in leadership roles. Just something to show the support and the differentiation of them in a leadership role. Service contracts between HVAC, between the communication softwares, those service contracts just continue to go up and rise, and so we put a little bit of money there. Licensing software is their software. They got a little bit better of a deal there, so we were able to lower that one. And then more or less, I think he's going pretty flat the remainder of the way here on this budget. Fire marshal, this is page 47. This has in it the various people that make up the fire marshal's department. And then the conference and some dues for the dues that they're required to have, gasoline for their vehicles, and then fire prevention week is some stuff they do for fire prevention week for I think it's for the kids, and equipment supplies and some uniforms. Page 49 is the emergency dispatch line item. This has in it the dispatch services, the fire alarm monitoring for all town buildings, and then a regional medic dispatch service fee as well. So the dispatch is a contract agreement we have with Middletown that runs through June of 2027. So I guess we gotta work on an extension for that. Police department is fully staffed with the 13 full-time officers. We got 1 captain, 2 sergeants, detective, and then 9 other officers. The big components here are service contracts and licensing are things that are going up. And service contracts, you have like the fingerprinting. So there's HVAC, building, fire alarms, extinguishers, pest control, elevators, first aid. Then there's solar service for the lights that are the cameras that are on the lights. There's some wireless connectors for the cameras on the lights. There's some storage required for that. And then fingerprint machine has a service contract. So that's that component of it. On the service for the licensing for software, there's various softwares that they need to run, and then the jump here is like about $10,000 to $11,000 for the body cameras that we've had for the long term. We did on a long term agreement with we had bought like the licensing included in the initial agreement. Those are running out, so we're going to do a 1 year on those, and then the in-car licenses as well. So we're working on those licenses. There's a $10,000 requirement there to be added in because those licenses are now due to be renewed. So we're working on that, and then the captain will work on as the updates to the cameras need to go. That'll be a capital model increase there. Uniforms, we jumped that slightly just because the cost of uniforms continue to rise, as well as the more the fully staffed with the crew there. Equipment, and then electricity. We had a nice 4-year deal that was from 12/21 till 11/30/25 with Engie. It was a 0.77, it was more or less I think it was 0.7735. It was a 7735 with a kilowatt, and now it's I think 0.09706 per kilowatt. So it went up by that 0.1971, which is around a 25% increase. So post-COVID, the energy market had jumped up. During COVID, it had gone way up. And then we had gotten in before the increase back in 21, had a nice ride for the 4 years, went out to bid with, we use a CCM partnership, and they ran the bidding cycle. Engie was again the low bidder, and the 9706 was the rate. So that's this supply. So you'll see throughout the bid, on our side of the budget, you'll see the electricity going up, and it varies kind of based on location. I kind of try to do things based off of last year's actuals and I didn't put the 25 on it. I tried to do some type of a spin between 12.5 and maybe like 15 because of, in theory, the demand's not, in theory, should be going up. That already went up last year. It's the supply. So hopefully we're doing that okay, but you'll see that throughout the budget. Page 53 is emergency management. This is the EOC director. And there's a partial offsetting grant from from emergency management. In the revenue side of this. Page 55 is the building office. Really, the main change here was the change in personnel. So there was a new director. We're gonna skip 57 to 71. Those will be covered next week. So we have the planning department, which is on page 73. It's made up of the planner and a halftime assistant. That's split between that and the building department. So you have the assistant split between the building department and planning. And then this is the planner. And then the plan consultant is for various items for the GIS on line. There's another GIS updating that's required. And then there's also possible fees for like Jacobson, or there's another consultant that they use that would be various things that they have for consulting. Page 75 is the zoning enforcement. We do have the zoning enforcement officer now. That's a good thing, a great addition. We have not had that for a few years. That was challenging. So slight increase for conference meetings and dues, and then it was just more or less just the rate increase. 77 planning and zoning. Main change here was a decrease in the LCOG fee, and that was because we did not need to we did the natural hazard mitigation plan payout this year, and that's different. It's a span of time before you have to do that again. And so that was able to come out. That was about $5,300. So that's a good drop. Page 79, zoning board of appeals. There's no change here to this budget. Inland Wetland Commission, just a slight change on the enforcement officer fee, and then that's it. 83 is the Conservation Commission. 50% increase. Whoa, $300. We got a $300 change in dues and conference meetings. So that blows that right out of the water. 46 is the Economic Development Commission. This is Tyke planning, as well as marketing program activity. So that's no change. The Capital Expenditure Commission, that's went up by $400. It looks like they use the board clerk now. Page 89 is our Chatham Health District. This is another one where Chatham Health District says, hey, pay this. And I guess we have to pay that. So this is what we're doing. Page 93 is social services. These are various social services that help our town residents, and the first selectman chooses to support them in there. Things such as the fair, the historical society, the veterans activities, the Memorial Day parade, the Connection Emergency Shelter, and then the various others. This is also the Red Cross Dial-A-Ride program and the Rural Transit District program that we know as part of the River Valley, part of the Estuary Transit District. The River Valley Transit operates these two programs that we are a part of, and they kind of pay this contractually. Page, good enough. Page 95 is the senior center. Senior center is made up of the director and a full-time assistant. There is a part-time payroll of an 8-hour position. The increases in this year was from service contracts. Service contracts, we have elevators, first aid, pest control, fire alarms, sprinklers, the kitchen exhaust system, the HVAC system, my senior center software, and then the kitchen suppressant system. So we had some, after we did the program, we ran, there was various things that we needed some additional service contracts for. So this year we're kind of finding those out, and that's why we had put that as we were taking a little bit of a hit this year on service contracts. Instructor fees, instructor fees is when they have programs where fee revenue becomes generated and creates fee revenues in the general fund. The actual instructor fees then are charged out of this line item where the fees generate in the revenue. Conference meetings and dues are the various conferences associated with the senior center, and for the director and any of the assistant of where they need. Telecommunications is for the, more or less the various activity, the TVs and the various communication we have there. Electricity, this is showing that 2,600 bump. Last year, we took a hit with the system being fully functional, as well as the distribution was high that year. And now we're getting hit again with that change in the contract. So you're seeing that. Water, we're keeping the same. Heating, fuel, we left that the same. And then there was $1,000 increase in the program services for I think it was I believe it was veterans programming that the department wanted to add in.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what program services is.
It's program services is any different programs that may not generate revenue that are things that that the director and her team runs there. So if you have a program, they're celebrating an event, they would buy the supplies out of that. If they were having a gathering where they had to have a type of refreshment, they would do that. If they had to pay someone to come in, but they weren't going to charge a revenue fee, but they had to pay a vendor, then they would pay from there. So it's many things. This is kind of like they're kind of where they can spend things to do programming for the residents and the members of this, as well as and those may generate, but they generally do not generate the fee. The fee is generally in the instructor fees. If so, a program that's generating fees would be you pay the instructor and then they generate fees. If you don't have that, then generally it's a program service. Okay. Municipal grant and aid. This is the budget where we have pay the van driver stipends. We show a $1,700 increase on this budget, as well as the gas and diesel has stayed the same. So put about a 3.91. There is usually generally revenue that will come in from partial of this for grant. So we generally need to show an increase in these type of budgets as the money comes in. We can't supplant.
Yeah, Tom, I know, I mean, there just must be a reason for it, but I found it confusing that these line items are listed under the category of municipal agent for the elderly. Like, why aren't those costs just in the?
This is a municipal agent elderly budget. That's like the intent of the municipal agent budget.
Transportation?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been. It's just that is the department. If you look at the mission, it's the help, that you're the municipal agent of the elderly on that. It's just two budgets. They have the senior center budget, and then it's this for that. And I think a lot of that has to do with grant that the director has on the other side. So they'd like to see, you don't really want to cloud that budget. You would want to see that separated out here, because this is specifically for the van driver stipends to drive, and then the gasoline. That's all the budget's for, really. Okay.
It's run by the senior center, but it has its own page.
Yes.
Yeah, it's, well, just
Thank you,
the
Bob.
description though, does, whatever, it's fine. No, I mean, I get it. It's just,
Page 99 is the library budget. This is the payroll, full-time payroll for the, based on the census of the people that are in the full-time payroll and the part-time payroll, based with their administrative, with the expected, but the expected increases here. Again, service contracts, we are increasing, as you can see, we've had a challenge hitting that number. HVAC is always a challenge, and as prices continue to rise, even though some of the equipment is okay, some of it is aged and therefore cause that there's also other types of service contracts that we do have in that line item as well. Conference and meetings and dues, some of the participants in the town, they wanted to do some education, and so for the contract, they're able to ask for that, so there was a bump in that. Other line, the electricity, we did go up slightly on the number. They've done better on the actual, so we didn't have to go up on the budget as much as we would have if they had not been doing better on the actual. So that was good on them. And there was really no other significant changes there. Page 101 is our employee fringe benefit page. Various so the vacation pay is what we have various contracts where there's vacation payouts. So we have an estimated amount there that often doesn't change, and it fluctuates up and down. Longevity is based on the longevity that we have to pay. Sick time is another one, based on people that have their sick time. And in the payout, it fluctuates based on who has what, who earns when the longevity is. And termination pay, that's for people when they leave. It's more or less all departments when they leave, except the Board of Ed. But it would be all departments of termination pay there. Medical insurance is people have spoken about that. There's an increase in that line item. Dental insurance is doing pretty well. Life is doing pretty well. Disability, those are for the ones we have there. FICA and Medicare is for all the general fund employees. The town pension plan has two components. The older plan is a defined benefit plan that kind of has been shut off, but there's still active. And so that is actuarially determined, the contribution. And then there's a DC plan where we contribute in 6% of the employee salaries. That will, not this year, but the next year will jump to 7%. But that's so you have two components into that line item, as well as a financial advisor. And then there's police pension is a DB plan, defined benefit plan. That's actuarially determined. So that's an actually determined number. The volunteer fire plan is an actuarially determined number. So the actuary says this is the number. That's the number we put in. Workers' comp is what we have to pay into KERMA for workers' comp for the town. Unemployment is what we allocate for unemployment. Sometimes you have good years, sometimes you have bad years, but we just more or less leave a $7,000 number there. Collective bargaining is usually what we do for the OPEB valuation, where the OPEB is other pension like other pension obligations. And more or less, that's like the it's obligations that would be like for health insurance and even the implicit value of those health insurance. We have to do a biannual valuation. And so this year is the year on for that. And then every year we have to also pay for fees associated with there's what's called like footnote disclosures that are required to be done for the audit. And so every year we have to pay for them to do the footnote disclosure updates. Usually our actuary has been USI consultant. So our fringe benefit line item is increasing up 5.64% globally. 103 was the risk management. This is KERMA. This is more or less what we pay for Kerma for our our liability, our auto, our personal property, our insurance. We have to have insurance for the airline trail for Eversource, so we have to have that. We also have excess liability coverage that we have and we also have cyber security for the town and the board. And we have that in this budget as well. The and then we also so this one, you know, going just with a 1.2%, I usually base off the estimates of what we were getting, probably expecting somewhere between a 4 or 5 or 6% increase, but hopefully we can mitigate that within this increase within the number that we have here. So I think that'll hopefully work out well. Page 105 is debt service. We have the current bond that we are paying. The bond, the principal payment for next year is 525,000. The interest payment is 208,000, around 188. We have a capital lease payment. We're in year 6 of 7 on 197,449. Principal interest of 4,488. Miscellaneous, normally there's usually $1,000 there for rounding in case there's an issue on a payment. Why there's $116,000 there is we have $115,000 budgeted for bond issue costs for the potential Board of Ed bonding that would possibly get approved by the voters. We budgeted miscellaneous, we budgeted other revenue of $115,000, which we may get from a bond premium. And therefore we had to budget the issuance cost within this budget. So there was a budgeted revenue and a related budgeted expenditure, but that is kind of assuming that the Board of Ed bond would pass. This would possibly be an issuance that would have to occur in 27.
Tom, I just have one question on that.
There.
For the 2018 town bond,
Yes, sir.
what year are we in on that payment? Like,
I wouldn't have that off the top of my head.
okay.
So in 2018, well, yeah, it'll be 18 minus, it'll be 8 years in.
Could we add that in the future like we do on the one below it? Just so anyone that looks at it knows how many years we have left to pay on it.
Yeah, I can try to come up with something like that. Yeah, it's in the audit. I just didn't think about
Yeah.
it, put it here.
That's fine.
Yeah. In the footnote disclosure of the audit, it'll tell us, you know, exactly where that is, but
Good question.
yeah, good question. Even if something like if it's like ending year, whatever, something like that,
Yeah.
that would be good enough.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's probably easier than trying to,
Yeah, as long as people
yeah,
know where we stand on it.
right. Yeah.
Like
that's
we're at the
pretty good.
beginning, we're at the end.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Kind of early
Yeah.
in it. So it's quite a few years left. All right, and that's why it's showing the 7.5 is the issuance cost here. Otherwise, you wouldn't really see that. Just on the I'll go over the transfers just so you know what they are for some of the newer members. So the transfers out are what we transfer to the other departments. Some of them within the budget, some of them are just other funds that we have elsewhere. So this one that's in this budget is you'll have a transfer to animal control, which is our fund 4. You'll see that. Then there's a transfer for youth service, which is our youth service department, fund 7. We'll have the building maintenance fund 11. That's a share between the town and the board. We get 41, they get 41. You have that doesn't do it. The resource recovery is our resource recovery facility. So we have to transfer money to that. I'm gonna jump other for a second and then go back to it. Park and Rec is for the transfer out to our Park and Rec fund. There's I think it's an ordinance that says we need to send $50,000 to our open space. So we do that annually. And then in the capital, try to leave the capital more or less at the level of where we were at last year because of the whole debt situation. We try to leave the capital and the debt. When you lower debt, you try to leave the capital the same. Would have liked to try to do that when we lowered a little bit of capital this year to actually raise it. But due to the net impact on the grant list, we couldn't do that. But the only really difference here why this dropped by 4,000 was because resource, the transfer, the capital amount for resource recovery went up to 8,000 from 4,000. So the transfer to the resource recovery went up by 4,000. So we had to pull it out of this line item to go up. So that's why that dropped by the 4. So it didn't equal exactly. So the other going backwards to other, so there's 58, 750 that we transfer to the water fund for fire hydrant upkeep. That's just been a thing that the town has done for years now, and it's warranted and good. It also includes the $50,000 to the airline trail. We're trying to put money aside so we have enough money for the match when this goes to pop off to be done through the grant process. Hopefully a grant would be awarded. And generally there's a requirement to have a match there. And then we transferred $2,000 annually into Fund 84 for the Solidarity Committee. So that's fund. That's what page 107 is about. The next page is contingency. This is monies that we set aside, $100,000. We set aside for things that come up unexpected. So kind of things like snow this year being so very high. That's, you know, kind of using up that contingency already as it's the overtime is just so high. So hopefully no more snow on the weekends and on Sundays and holidays.
No.
So or no snow at all.
Should we look at like increasing this a certain percentage every year to like keep pace with the budget? Because this has been $100,000 as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I mean, it's not a bad idea, no doubt. It's worked for us,
Yeah.
for a while now. So it's been good. You know, we've been doing okay. This year might be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
The current year we're in because of the overtime. I haven't seen a year like this in a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's something to probably consider. I don't know if I would do it this year because of the mill rate effect. But I mean, if you know, in a future year, sure, that might not be a bad thing to bump up as right, because 100,000 doesn't take it as
No, that goes pretty fast now.
it goes pretty fast nowadays. But okay. And then we're gonna jump over to so we're gonna skip the stuff that's water and sewer, as those are for public works. So kind of going with that transfer page 119 is the animal control fund. Mike and his team continues to try to get some property rental in. We used to have great property rental when the city of Middletown rented our depot or our what do you call it?
Dog pound.
Yeah, pound. There you go. Thank you. We had that. It's been a challenge to get that since. I guess this is somewhat of a placeholder, hoping for rental. The income here is for the sale of the dog license, more or less, the dog surcharges, some miscellaneous fees and donations when the people pick the dogs up, and then the transfer in from the general fund. The page 120, which really makes this fund up is an employee. This is the animal control officer. They do have to have part-time people that come in on the weekends. If there are animals housed there, you have to obviously take care of them on the weekend. That's similar to what overtime is there more or less for as well, or if the person's called in later. The remainder is more or less the benefits associated with that. Service contracts is sometimes that's kind of that's getting rid of the animals as well as other types of services, but talk about that too much. Veterinary fees, would be if when the animals are ill or sick, we have that. Municipal insurance is the allocation of insurance. And more or less, we go through and just, we don't really change this budget too much. Just trying to match it up with whatever the, allocable amounts are on that, and or and with electricity is it, we try to keep it as low as we can with to help, I guess, keep the animals going. Page 124 is youth service. This is so I think we recently probably will have a change in personnel in this department. So I think that Mike is working on filling that position. So this generally there is a grant here in this that runs about 29,000 or so of this. It is related to a grant from a DCF for the Youth Service Bureau. DSS money is monies that have been brought in for services. There's a consultant that sometimes works with us, and he bills out, and then some fees come back on that. Some of that on the resource center fees, that can be also programmatic fees of, if there's some fees run programmatically, it also can be something of a component of a private pay of that other consultant that we spoke of. And then we have the transfer in. This department has the one employee budgeted in it, related insurance, and then the conferences and the meetings, and the dues, and then the utilities to this, the commodities of the department. And then there are miscellaneous programs that they run, and then there's a CRC consultant. That one was always been a kind of a 20 to 30,000. This year it has jumped a little bit, quite a bit. It has generated some additional revenues. I believe that First Selectman Pelton's been reviewing and monitoring this, and we'll continue to review that. We're budgeting it more in line where it had been, to where it might be right now. So anticipating it may go back to what it was, and how that was set up. But that's why you're seeing the increase was just the increase to increase up that fee, and then the increase up in the revenue. So as you look to the general fund effect, there was only about a 10,000 general fund effect on that. The change was an increase in the revenue as well. So that's kind of what's going on there. This is kind of our best estimate. The director was out during this time, so we were trying to kind of come up with what we were thinking based on a kind of past history. And then that is that would conclude the components of the items that I would speak of tonight. And then we will have we'll do the public works and capital stuff next time.
Right. Any questions at all before Tom goes? Thank you very much, Tom, by the way.
Well, thank you
That was a
all.
lot. Any questions?
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I'll say,
There were a
little
lot of
bit to
notes being
digest.
taken, Tom, and thank you for being so thorough on that.
All right, we all good?
Thank you.
thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it. All right, so, Sarah, I know you wanted to. Right.
Okay. I'll make it quick. Thank you, guys. I know everybody's tired, and thanks, Tom. Okay, so I just wanted to provide a visual so it's a little more digestible for a better understanding of what actually takes place at the senior center and reduce the very large stigma surrounding the center and older adults as a whole in this community and what we do there. So I wanted to provide a data-driven review of program scope, community impact, and professional credentials. And most importantly, I wanted to advocate for our older population and speak for them. Next slide. We can, yep, and we can skip over that. That's just, my credentials and, areas of expertise that I offer there. Okay, next slide, please. We'll skip that. We'll go to the more important part. Does anybody want to read that? You guys all have your copy?
Yep, we're good.
Okay.
Good.
All right, so that brings us to program and delivery and community impact. Okay. Okay, so here I describe what a program session is. A program session represents each individual occurrence of a class, workshop, activity, or outing. A class meeting 3 times per week counts as 3 programs per session. So as you can see, we run over 100 sessions per month, 1,200 per year. So relative volume is 2.5 times 4 times the baseline. Portland delivers approximately, in many municipalities with similar population sizes, which is obviously an achievement. Next slide, please. And so membership growth. So July 2024 to February 25, we had 67 new members. July 25 to this February, we had 155, which is a total of 88 new members, which is a growth rate of 131%. I'm just going to go through it really quick. So if you have questions, just interrupt me. Next slide. Okay, so this brings us to our transportation services. So rides provided the same time frame, July 24 to February were 656 of 25, and then July 25 to February 26, 758 rides. So average per week, we do about 17 now. Last year when we were meeting about this, it was about 12 to 14. And so we get 2 to 3 requests that we have to decline per week. So as you can see, this is a 15.5 growth in transportation demand year over year. So with the decline rides.
Sarah, can I ask you a question before we go forward on that? Because I
Yep.
know last year we specifically put some additional dollars in, right, to try to help.
Mhm.
And the bottleneck was making sure you had time.
Mhm.
Is the bottleneck this year still driver hours? Or is it the timing of those where we would need another vehicle? Like what's the bottleneck that's holding us up on some of those?
It's not time, it's not drivers. The drivers are willing to take on more hours. It's funding.
No, that's what
Yeah.
I think that's what I was getting at. I didn't know if it was having more driver time, would that work with the number of vehicles we have to try to answer more of those requests? Or are we getting to a point where we're able to provide more hours and more rides, but we'll get on the border of whether or not we've got enough vehicles to do that. That's what I'm trying to get at.
It is a good question, but I would say if you're looking for an answer, I would say on the border, because if we were able to do more rides, then we would need more vehicles.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And they have to be ADA accessible as well.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's okay. Interrupt away, because you know how I like to public speak. Okay.
But, and you're very.
Okay, so if we were to, increase the rides, there's always layers to everything, as you guys know. That certainly would be reflective of more support staff that we need. A lot of other senior centers have transportation coordinators, which would be helpful too. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so this one is really interesting and it's really important for everybody to know this. So registered voters in 2025 were 7,196, and that's just registered voters. Now, age 55 and up are 3,504. That makes 49%. So that's a substantial amount. And so nearly 1 in 2 voters in Portland is directly served by the senior center, making this the single largest voting in town. Okay, next slide. So these are statewide demographics that, I pulled up. So adults age 60 and older represent the fastest growing population group across Connecticut, outpacing all other age cohorts in the rate of growth. And then by 2030, approximately 1 in 4 Connecticut residents will be age 60 or older, dramatically reshaping demand for community service and public resources. Increasing service demand. So this demographic shift is accelerating demand for senior programming, transportation, aging in place resources, caregiver support, and social engagement opportunities statewide. So the increased participation seen at the Portland Waverly Senior Center directly reflects this broader statewide trend, and the trajectory is projected to continue to just continue to grow and grow and grow as we see. Let's see. Oh, and I just had another senior center get back to me today. So in Stamford, their population is 140,000 and ours, and they do 260 programs per month. And our population is 9,000, approximately 9,421, and I do over 100 programs a month. So
Very good.
huge difference. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and next slide, please. And this is just a visual for you. I mean, I don't think I really need to read it to you guys, but it's based on regional senior service leadership comparison. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? All right, and then part of our needs, we definitely need more support in the office. So this is a comparison that you guys can look at later about all different towns, different demographics, and how many employees they have. I was really impressed with East Lyme and Ellington. They have 60 volunteers in East Lyme and Ellington 65. We have some volunteers, but they're not consistent with hours or schedules.
Sarah, he
Kind
just
of
needs
random.
to switch the slide. Because you're talking to the next slide, I think.
Oh. Nick?
Other way, other way.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah, you were.
Yep. Okay, so that's what I just talked about. I'm not going to do it again. Okay.
Feel about public speaking.
All right. So the next slide, please, under key observation. Great. Okay. So as I mentioned, with a population, it's approximate of 9,421 in Portland is among the smaller municipalities in comparison, yet it leads the region in annual program sessions by a significant margin. And again, it's 1,200 a year, 100 per month. So what this means is that the Waverly Senior Center's program output is significantly higher than many municipalities of comparable size. Its service level is more consistent with towns serving populations of 15,000 to 30,000 residents, double or quadruple Portland's actual size. Yep. So, yeah, that's that. I don't have to read the whole thing. And so next one is our summary page. Thank you. So what I didn't cover is the transportation demand. I think I touched on this 15.5% growth. And then membership enrollment is 131%. So that. And then I'm not going to read the last page for you guys. You have it.
So let me ask you this, what would be the highlight? What's the biggest message you want this board and maybe people watching at home to know?
I guess I would say to really look this over. This is hard data that determines that there is growth and it's going to continue to grow. Also with the anticipated of 200 to 355 and up with our staff that we have now, we will not be able to provide service and do it well. And if you want to bring older adults in town, you have to have a great senior center. And I do think that a lot of seniors in town, they pay taxes. And everybody like myself, I'm concerned about the schools and where my tax dollars are going because that's the age I am and that's what's important to me right now. Obviously the seniors are too, but it's really important to think of them and not overlook them, which I feel happens every day. I see it every day. I hear the comments, the stigma. So I think
what do you think that folks out there that have kids in the classrooms don't know about the senior center? Because you've said a couple of things to me about, most people don't understand how much happens there, but what's the thing that they should know about?
We're building on our intergenerational programs. Like we work with the transition students. We're doing a lot of that. And it's a great opportunity for older adults and the kids to connect and form that community bond. Short and sweet.
It wasn't that bad, was it?
It was horrible. It was horrible. I'm not kidding.
You did great. You did great.
Sarah,
Yeah.
can you please
We need
repeat that?
cards.
No, can you please repeat that? Thank you very much.
That was spicy, Jill. I like that. All right, that was great. You did great. I see also our library directors here as well. I just asked her to say a few things. I know we've been talking for a while. It's coming up on 9 o'clock. We're drowning in numbers, but I think it'd be important to have you give us a quick overview on some things that we should know.
Great job, Sarah. Hi, I'm Jen Billingsley, the library director. Tom really covered all of my pieces of this. He hit all of the pieces where it increased. If people have questions for me, I'm happy to take them, or we can go through the places where there are increases, but Tom really kind of covered all of it. So if you have other, and I'll be back next week for when the other pieces of the discussion are happening, because it is almost 9 p.m. and I want to be respectful of your time.
I think my only comment about your budget is all the department heads do a great job of putting it together, but you've got a lot of eyes on that budget, and I have not been concerned in the 2 huge number of years I've been doing this and looking at budgets in this position, but I feel comfortable with the budget you've put together. But if you could maybe give a couple highlights on maybe some changes this year versus last year, or some things that you would like to get accomplished in this budget, maybe that you didn't do last year.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, the biggest piece of this is the salary line, because that's the biggest increase. And those are contracts that are currently being negotiated. So we gave about our best estimate. Thank you again, Tom, for double checking numbers, as I cried into a spreadsheet. The big piece for here, the other bigger ticket piece for here is the service contracts line. A lot of that, Perfect Temp is great. They're super, super responsive, but when mechanicals break down, they break down bad. So that's a bigger piece of that for this. So just increasing that line to kind of keep up with what the costs have been over the past couple of years, as opposed to being desperate and stressed when it's happening. Is reflected in that line. We have had a number of staff members retire. We're a small team, but we've had a number of staff members retire. And so we have younger and or newer to these positions staff. So the conferences, meeting, and dues line included in the library's contract is a certain amount of professional development that they are supposed to be able to have access to. So we're sending 3 staff members to the State Library Conference. I'm actually not going this year. We're sending just all other staff members, and they're very, very excited. I think two of the staff members have gone before, but one hasn't in a very long time, and one of them has never gone. This will be her first State Library Conference and her first library conference, and so she's very excited. I'm trying to think of so Library Connection Incorporated is our consortium. We are migrating systems. Currently this year, we are migrating from one integrated library system to another library system. All of the libraries in our consortium are doing that. The bulk of that is being handled by Library Connection, which is great because I would collapse on the floor. But there's a small increase included in that piece of it because all of the we're getting a much better circulation system. It's like that's where every single record of everybody, every human's record, every user that has a library card as well as every object that we circulate is included in that. So it's a big change for every single one of the library. It's like there's 39 of us, I think, in the system. So it's a big shift. And for not a huge increase in that piece of that service contract or that data processing line. So yeah, electricity is in there. We're trying to keep that heating fuel because we had a brutally cold winter inside of there. Discs, videos, and digital media, I'm asking for a $600 increase just to keep up with use. We have the most expensive thing that we have is our ebooks and our digital audiobooks. There is currently legislation that passed last legislative session but it's trigger language. It doesn't take effect until I think it's 3 other states of a larger size than us pass similar enough legislation to kind of put some parameters around the costs of e-resources, because we lease e-resources, we don't own them. So when you purchase a book in the library, we just found an American Girl book that I think was 20, like that actual physical book was 20 years old. And we were like, oh, maybe we buy a replacement copy for Felicity. It's time. That American Girl has seen a lot. But when you buy an e-book or an e-audiobook of a similar title to that, you are often purchasing, it's a metered access. You only have it for 12 months and then you have to purchase it again because there's no parameters or guidelines on what publishers can charge libraries for that. And they say, well, if everybody has it at the library, they'll never buy a book again, even though that actually is not true. But so there's some of that in the back end, but people really value e-resources. They go out really well here. And so there's a very slight increase in that line to accommodate for use. And then newspapers. Our newspaper costs drastically increased. Currently we have, I said I'd be brief and here I am. So please feel free to cut me off if y'all need to go home. So we currently subscribe to the Hartford Courant, Middletown Press, the New York Times, USA Today, and the Wall Street Journal. And those get used in the library. If you walk around in different times of the day, you'll see people sitting and reading them in the library. I think it's important to have a print copy of your newspapers locally in your library's collection, especially right now. But those costs are really, I mean, I'm sure anybody that subscribes at home, you see what the individual costs are, and they charge libraries more because, again, the more you have in the libraries, they're like, oh no, we're going to charge you more because you're a library. So that has really substantially increased. And so we're trying to increase, that's what the request for that line. It's almost just to cover the cost of newspapers. If we don't get that increase, we'll probably have to cancel at least one of the subscriptions, if not more. So any questions?
I think it's a hard no. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Right.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen.
Really appreciate it. So I see a couple other department heads out there, but I'm not going to ask them to go up if they don't want to. That's a lot of head shaking no. So all right. So listen, we're going to wind it down. Our next meeting.
I have one question for Tom.
Oh, please.
Actually, it's just something to find out for me for next week. One is the money from the senior center rides. Could you find out how much that was for last year, or on average, like what we collect from that?
Money in the senior center rides goes to a different fund.
Yeah.
That is utilized to purchase the new vehicles.
Okay.
So it doesn't go to the general fund.
All right. I was just wondering roughly what we get a year from it. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, we can get you that.
The other one is the category for the rental property income.
Yeah.
Could we get a breakdown of like how much is from the quarry, how much is from, school gymnasiums? Not each thing, but it'd be nice to see some of the bigger ones broken
Yeah,
down.
I mean, the majority, okay, yeah, the majority of them is obviously brownstone exploration. And then the next biggest one is Oak Hill.
Mhm.
The next biggest one, if applicable, would be the Saybrook reading. And then the next biggest one out of that probably would be the parking lease at the marijuana facility.
Okay.
And then there's a small one for Mercy Housing that pays a small rental of a space. And then everything else would be like gym or like if they did a play and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can get you like last year's, the brownstone exploration, you know, if you want, we can shoot you that an email or whatever, if you want to see that.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, I was just
that's,
wondering
I mean,
like,
that's
what the
that's
big
your-
ones are that,
That's your biggest number.
yeah,
The other ones are in the, you know, that's in the hundreds of thousands. The other ones are under 100,000.
okay,
And then 50, you know what I mean, then lower.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's really Brownstone, Oak Hill.
Yep.
This Saybrook reading, if it comes to fruition. Marijuana parking.
Okay.
I mean, it's it. There's no other, you know, there are other ones. It's all that stuff of the rental. The
Yep.
thing that's coming in from us, it's coming in from Park and Rec on the rental use of buildings and stuff like that.
Fine.
Did I answer it enough or?
I just wanted to see what the big numbers are from each one.
Okay.
And with back to the senior center, besides what they pay, can you tell us what the balance is in that account towards buying a new vehicle? Roughly, next week.
We bought one recently, so I would assume it needs to like build up, because that's your bus. So, because you guys wanted that and wanted a replacement vehicle and there was, I think there was some ARPA money involved.
Some ARPA
Yeah.
money,
It
So there was ARPA money involved. We utilize that as the match. So that's kind of what we generally do, is we utilize it as a match. So it's the match of your bus so every periodically, Sarah would put together a grant to get a bus, but I think we did an ARPA one in lieu of that.
Mhm.
And then I think there was another ARPA funding. So I think there was an ARPA funding for the bus. I think we did ARPA funding from our ARPA allotment for a bus. Then we got a supplemental ARPA grant that helped us buy the Chrysler Pacifica.
Mhm.
Those are all those matching components. Then the next, in theory, would be when she does the grant for there's like a federal grant for the next big bus would in theory be what you would be. That's what you'd be like in theory banking for.
Yeah.
In that, Sarah has that number, but I can get you that number as well.
Okay, thank you.
Good questions.
Yeah, I think I have one, and I don't know if it's expressly would be Tom or, when we talk about, you know, like the MTA, right, we have the dial-a-ride and we have the bus service. And the bus service we know is important for a lot of our folks to get around, but the dial-a-ride kind of got two services right now that we're working with. We've got the service that we're doing through the senior center, which I think is given very personalized, timely service to our residents. The dial-a-ride, I think, has its benefits in terms of gets people where they gotta go. But there's times where they're now really waiting. You know, there's not, we're hearing stories, you know, 2 to 4 hours, sometimes people are waiting to get a ride home. If we backed off of the dial-a-ride piece, how does that impact the other part of the contract for the bus? Because that's a critical service for some people to get to work.
Because
Right,
we
need to have that.
subsidize them too.
Right, you know, like, can we dial back on the dial-a-ride? And enhance the services that we have that are performing better for our residents? Or is that gonna have a negative impact on the bus service?
But
How-
dial-a-ride
does that impact?
serves people other than seniors.
It does,
Right.
but that's what we're talking about.
But
there's like-
We're not making that. Yeah,
But you get, I mean, this is Mike's budget, but I'll attempt to speak on something here.
Yeah.
But,
Look, Tom.
you know, we're we're a community, right?
Yeah.
We're a community that has to support many different people.
Yeah.
The social service, in the social service contract, which is Mike's budget, the dial-a-ride and the other. those are components of the transit district. We are part of the transit district, similar to like you're part of Chatham Health, similar to you're part of this other,
Okay.
the probate court. These guys kind of tell you, this is what you pay.
Right.
This is what you pay.
Okay,
If
so
you
those
want
are-
to
those are
participate,
set.
yeah, if you want to participate and I'm pretty confident you want to
We
participate.
definitely do want to.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You want to participate in those, that's kind of what you're paying. It's a budgeted letter. It comes out and it just says, here is the amount that you're paying, you
Okay.
know what I mean?
So
So-
it's not an allocation per service for us. We don't have,
No.
it's basically either participate on both components or don't.
But in,
Yeah.
in fairness
Yeah.
to the question though, what I have asked them to do is to try to give me as much data as they can on
Yeah,
how many rides are taken, what's the demographic. It does skew to a lot of people that are taking that to work and other things as well. So I've asked for that because I'm curious as well.
well, my
And they
concern
can
is, my
provide
concern
that.
is the time that people are waiting,
Right.
there's some very long.
When they
stories.
came in for the presentation, they were very vague on every number they gave us.
Yeah.
Like how many rides do you do a month? I don't know, 500 to 600. Like, you have no idea how many rides you're giving to people in Portland.
They are doing everything electronically. They expect people to go online. They can find the movie. It can be very confusing and it's a huge barrier for the, it's a great service, but you need to explore options. Here.
Which is exactly what because the riders I have are more digitally aware, they're more technically savvy and they can figure that out. So you're right, it's two different age groups, but they do have the data. Because they are using the cards and they are using those, so they have it. So I've asked for that. When I get that, I will share that with the board. So that can be part of the deliberations. We should have that for next week.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Absolutely. It's a
Thank
good
you.
question to ask. And thank you, Tom. Good answers. So, all right, any other questions while we're here? A couple minutes after 9, we've all spent our 2 hours. Are we good? All right. Next meeting will be Tuesday at 7 o'clock, open to the public. We'll talk about the rest of the budget. And then and then the day after that, next Wednesday, we start the workshops. So exciting time.
We're not doing.
Oh, we'll do it on the next one. I think that's the right thing.
Yeah.
I think people, all right, so I need someone to make a motion, Bob.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second. All right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight.